I met Hans the summer after I graduated high school. I had just turned 18 years old, and we were at the kind of party that you did not want your high school kids to be at.
I mean, literally, it was one of those movie-style moments. The crowd parted, and I found myself face to face with the girl of my dreams. We were living for the party. I mean, nothing about our life was godly. It was a godless lifestyle. And as much as we loved spending time together, I mean, I'll say that our relationship wasn't great. Yeah. I mean, when it was great until it wasn't. And our fights were really ugly. But we'd always kind of kiss and make up, and everything would be okay.
And in January of '94, we were married.
Yeah. And honestly, our lives were good. We had a new baby on the way. I got a new job with great benefits, and life was going good. After kind of the newness wore off, we started to slip back into some of our old patterns, and we started to fight. We started to fight about finances and spending time together. It wasn't good, and it got worse. And our fights turned a lot more toxic than what they did in dating.
I didn't know how to argue. I didn't know how to resolve conflict. And so I would talk these circles around him, pushing buttons that I knew that he had just to get him to communicate something with me, and he would fly off the handle.
There'd be screaming, name calling. And look, I never thought that I was gonna be one of those guys. I was a passionate guy. I loved her, and yet I never thought that I would ever lay my hands on my wife. I remember I was out of town on a business trip, and I remember coming home and pulling around the corner and seeing Star and our then 2-year-old daughter Kylie standing in the driveway with their bags packed, and pulled up and a little confused, not knowing what was happening, and got out of the car and turned to Star and said, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Hans, I'm leaving you."
He'd been out of town for a week, and what he didn't know is when he was gone for that week, I'd become involved in an affair. I was done with the marriage, and I had every excuse on why Hans and I just couldn't work. We were too young. We got married because we were pregnant. We have all these dysfunctions, all these issues that we'll never fix. And so for me, divorce was the only option. And the only reason I didn't divorce him immediately was just because I couldn't afford it.
I told my parents I needed a place to live. And I'll never forget what my dad said. He said, "Hans, you can live in our house, but you're gonna go to marriage counseling." And I was like, "No, Dad, you don't understand." And he said, "No, you don't understand." He said, "If you want a place to live, you're gonna go to marriage counseling, and you're gonna go alone." And those next 6 months in marriage counseling alone, where God really started to get a hold of my heart and help me to see that I was the husband from hell. And more importantly, through counseling, helped me to see what a relationship with Christ looked like in the everyday moments when my world was swirling and she was talking circles around me and I didn't know what to do, how a relationship with Christ in those moments could actually totally transform those moments.
I hated that I'd kept all of the things that were going on a secret and hidden. I decided that I would go to counseling, but I was gonna go to check a box. 2 sessions, that's it, and then I'm done. And then I can move on and get the divorce that I was insistent on having. And so I'm sitting in this counseling office, and I really wanted him to validate me, so I'm giving the full story. And after he listened for quite a while, he just looked at me and said, "Star, I need to ask you a question." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Star, do you believe that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead?" And I said, "Yes, I believe that." And he said, "You don't hear what I'm asking you." He leaned forward on his little counselor couch, and he looked me deep in the eye, and he said, "Star, do you believe it? Do you believe that God took a dead man out of the grave and raised him back to life again so that you and I could be saved?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, I believe that. And he said, let me get this straight. You believe that God can raise a dead man out of the grave back to life again, but you don't believe that that same God has the power to heal your marriage. It was my moment. And I don't know why, but it was like in that moment, God decided that for the first time I was going to see clearly, like a light that had been shut off was going to come on, because I wondered in that moment, what if God could do it? And so I turned to God this much. And I'm telling you, we watched him unfold things in our life, in our marriage, in our relationship that we had never, ever experienced before.
And things started to move in the right direction, and they're still moving in the right direction 28 years later. And I'm so thankful that God did that.
Yeah, we have a new marriage. We have 6 children, and it kills me to think that I could have walked away from the life that God had for me because I didn't believe him.